I feel the same way. Is that the Big Bang doesn't make sense either, because it just every single thing came from nothing, which just doesn't make sense to me. Which makes me feel like there had to been a creator that created this. But then you think about, well, how did the creator get created? Like, no matter which way you think, whether religiously or scientifically, you still have to come from nothing.
Subscribe to this channel. In case you are watching this channel and you have not subscribed.
Terrence McKenna had a very funny thing that he said about science. He said, science wants you to believe that it's all about measurement and reason if you allow them one miracle. That one miracle's the Big Bang.
Yes. Right.
That all things come from the most preposterous idea ever.
Yeah.
That
Nothing.
Everything came from nothing in one big miracle.
That's right. I completely
I totally
agree.
paraphrased it.
I
He
love
probably
that.
said it far more eloquently.
Well,
but
this was for Fred Hoyle's objection to the Big Bang. He said he was a Democritean. He didn't believe. He said nothing comes from nothing. And I simply refuse to believe that the physical universe came from nothing physical. And moreover, he said it smacks of the Genesis account, which he detested. And so he rejected the Big Bang and formulated this steady state model that was later, I think, decisively refuted by the discovery of the cosmic background radiation. It happens, I've had funny coincidental meetings with Hoyle, Herman Bondi, and Thomas Gold, all three of the architects of the steady state model. I met Bondi and Hoyle when I was a PhD student in Cambridge. And Hoyle held on to his dying day for the steady state. But Bondi, actually, we had a conversation about it, and he said that well, it turned out that it was a brilliant idea. It was a beautiful idea. Just that it turned out that everything about it was wrong, and he rejected it. So, but
see, bro, like that, that's what I just get stuck on though. Is like I feel the same way. Is that the Big Bang doesn't make sense either, because it just every single thing came from nothing. Like I'm nothing, you're nothing. This fucking mic is nothing. Like every single thing came from nothing, which just doesn't make sense to me. Which makes me feel like there had to been a creator that created this. But then you think about, well, how did the creator get created? Like, no matter which way you think, whether religiously or scientifically, you still have to come from nothing. Like, it makes my mind just break every time I think about it. Because I just, what the fuck? I don't know, bro. It's so just mind-blowing to me. Like, we're so intricate. Every single thing about us is just so detailed and specifically made for us. And then same with animals and just all the animals that there are, and all the space and the planets and the suns and the galaxies and the fucking, it's fucking mind-blowing, man. I think about that scene from Men in Black whenever they pull out the marbles and it's just a bunch of galaxies, like Orion's belt, just on the marbles and shit. And it could be just like that, to where we're just in someone's fucking pocket right now. The whole universe is just in someone's pocket. But then where the fuck did they come from? You know, like what created them? And it's like nothing makes sense. If you really think about everything to try to make sense of it, nothing makes sense. The deeper you think about it.
Later, Hoyle had his own conversion to a kind of quasi-theistic worldview because of his discovery of the fine-tuning parameters. But the point is that the materialists did not expect to have this evidence from the beginning. Hoyle thought that, the laws of physics were the first law of conservation of matter and energy. Matter and energy are neither created nor destroyed except at the Big Bang. And he didn't like that, but eventually I think the physics community came around. There were so many indicators of that beginning event.
Now, again, as we're discussing detection methods and our ability to understand things is so radically different from 1920, 100 years ago. What is it going to be like 100 years from now? Are we making assumptions based on very limited data? It's a lot of data for us, but it seems fairly limited given the scope of not just this universe, but then the concept of multiverses.
Right.
Like, what are your thoughts of this concept of multiple universes?
I love to talk about the multiverse.
Or infinite universes.
Yeah, I'm glad you raised it. And this also connects to the Fred Hoyle story, which is fascinating. Again, with the proviso, science is necessarily provisional, and we always have to be open to new data.
Right.
But the trend lines, I think, are the things that are really interesting. So there's this Hoyle's. Let's start with Hoyle, and then we'll get to multiverse. Okay, so Hoyle is a great astrophysicist. He's thinking about carbon, and he realizes that carbon has this unique property of being able to make long chain-like molecules, and long chain-like molecules, therefore, are capable of storing information. And we need information to build specified structures in particular living systems. So he's trying to explain the abundance of carbon in the universe. And he thinks of 4 or 5 different ways that won't work. And finally, he comes up with a way that would work. And long story short, it turns out for that way of building carbon chemically to work, it has to do with combining simpler what are called nucleons.
How do you even calculate that though? How do you calculate all the fucking carbon that's available? I don't. That's one thing that I just don't get about science is how the hell they even calculate some of this shit.
Smaller atoms to get the carbon molecule. There has to be a special resonance level for the carbon molecule, special way it sings. It has a certain energy level that causes it to sing at a certain frequency. Turns out the frequency he predicts, which would be necessary to explain the origin of carbon in the universe, exists within a particular form of carbon. And they determined this at Caltech. But then that turns out to be the tip of a deeper iceberg, of a whole series of other things in the universe that would have to be just right to make this formation of carbon possible. The gravitational force would have to, inside stars, the gravity couldn't be too strong, too weak. The electromagnetic force couldn't be too strong or too weak. The ratio between them couldn't be too strong or too weak.
Like I was saying,
everything fell in this sweet spot, this kind of Goldilocks zone, where and we now call this the phenomenon of fine tuning. That there are multiple parameters in the universe that fall within these very narrow tolerances, outside of which not only life would be impossible, but stable galaxies and even basic chemistry would be impossible. And so that is to say, even to get the evolutionary process going, you would have to have all these beautifully finely tuned parameters in place. And so Hoyle starts having a rethink about this, and he's a staunch atheist, scientific atheist materialist, but he ends up concluding that fine-tuning points to some kind of a fine-tuner. And he's quoted as saying that the best data we have suggests that a super intellect has monkeyed with physics and chemistry in order to make life possible.
But see, like even with that, like what made them, like how is this person or thing capable of doing this? Like, and how was it created? And what the fuck? Like, it makes me really believe in energy, like the transfer of energy and like how we feel, how we can feel vibes and shit from each other. And this all kind of sounds like hippie and, you know, I don't know, kind of just weird. But like, I don't know, bro. Look, like we've evolved so much. Like we evolved to our nature, right? We evolved to adapt. So it just makes me think that if we've evolved all this to be what we are, why wouldn't we have at least try to evolve after we die too? If you think about it, we are just a fucking capsule. Like our consciousness has nothing to do with our body and shit. So I just feel like our consciousness has to go on to something else afterwards. And I don't know, maybe that's just me hoping for a longer lifespan or hoping that there's something after death, which I think a lot of people do, but it just makes more sense to me than we're here and we die. Like what was the point of us evolving to survive if we can't even survive after we die? I would love to know what you guys think about that. Argue with me if you want to. I would love to know like counters to it. I think about this shit all the time, all the fucking time. I love just making my mind get lost in this shit. But let me know what y'all think about this shit too. I know I'm not the only one that thinks about it like that.
So he moves to this sort of rudimentary theistic position in his philosophy or his worldview. Now, a lot of other physicists have come to the same conclusion. Sir John Polkinghorne, great Cambridge physicist, had a late-in-life conversion, religious conversion, that was partially predicated on his awareness as a physicist of the evidence for the universe as a setup job, the Goldilocks universe, as some physicists have called it. So that's kind of, as Hoyle said, a kind of common sense interpretation. When we see other systems that are finely tuned, like a French recipe or an internal combustion engine, what we mean by fine-tuning is an ensemble of improbable parameters that work together to accomplish some remarkable outcome or functional functional or remarkable outcome. That's what, if you see an internal combustion engine, you think it was engineered because it's finely tuned. So common sense. The contrary argument to that, the main one, there have been others, but not even most secular physicists regard them as compelling anymore. The main contrary argument has been the idea of the multiverse. That, yes, our universe has this array of jointly improbable parameters that are in that sweet spot. But we just happen to be the lucky one because there's a gabillion other universes out there. And with different combinations of the laws and constants of physics and different initial conditions at the beginning
Very
of
easy
those
to think
universes.
about.
So all those things that were just right in our universe are, yes, extremely improbable, but there's so many other universes that the probability of a universe with that set of life-friendly conditions arising somewhere had to arise somewhere, inevitably, and we just happen to be in that lucky universe. And then we are stunned by that, and they call that this observer selection effect. So that's superficially an equally plausible explanation to the fine-tuner argument. And a lot of physicists have told me that they regard the two as a wash. You can believe in a fine-tuner, or you could believe in a multiverse. I think the fine-tuner, we'll call it theistic design argument, provides a better overall explanation.
Hey, man, I wish I was more educated because I get what he was saying, but there's just so many things that I just don't understand because of, you know, he's obviously a really smart scientist, so I can't understand exactly what he's saying, and it's just all normal to him, so he's just talking about it like it's a regular day. But I wish people would just stop. I wish people would think more like that, though. Thinking that they just wish that they were smarter and stop thinking that they know it all. Because I think that's what's really holding society back from learning more about our species and the origin and this and that. Like once you feel like you understand everything and once you feel like you know everything, you don't want to question anything anymore. You feel like you have it all figured out. You have all the supporting facts and this and that. But to me, bro, I know that I can always be wrong, and I pride myself in that I know that I could possibly be wrong, and I'm not afraid of saying that I was wrong, or not afraid of questioning my own logic or my own opinions. And I think that's one thing that more people need to have. Because if not, then you just get stuck in this closed-minded frame that you just don't want to learn anything else, and that anything that anyone else says is just automatically wrong if it doesn't align with you. But yeah, please like the video. If you guys got anything to say about the video, let me know down below. You know I read every single comment. And if you fuck with your boy, would you please give me a subscription? With that said, deuces.
Raffle off a bundle, watch these niggas let them rounds off. Sound off, I demand attention like a house call. Pitch it to the click and they gon' scoop it like a ground ball. This been in the making for a long time. Long sleepless nights, baby, this done been a long grind.